Almost 1 billion voters prepare for parliamentary elections in India. The first of 7 phases of voting gets underway this weekend, mobilizing 15 million poll workers across the country. Most opinion polls say Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set to take a third term. But what issues will shape the June 4th results? I'm Andrea Sankey, and today's Newsmaker is India's election. It is the biggest and one of the most expensive democratic elections in the world, giving voters a choice between more than 2,600 parties. Every mode of transport is utilized to get machines to even the most remote regions of India, allowing voters to decide who will best address the issues that matter to them, whether it's job creation, inflation, education, or a litany of sometimes divisive social issues. 969 million Indians will have the chance to vote over the next 42 days. Here's a look.
The world's biggest election is kicking off in India. From the Himalayas to the southern coasts, some 970 million people are eligible to vote, and preparations for this gargantuan undertaking have been in full swing for months.
All our polling personnel is ready. Their randomization has been done. They have been allotted to their respective polling station, and as per schedule, now they are being sent to their polling stations.
The election unfolds in 7 phases, designed to ensure every citizen, from the remotest village to the country's megacities, has the opportunity to vote.
In a 3-layer of security, which is covered by AR, Army and CRPF and State Police, we are manning all the peripheral areas.
With its massive youth population, millions of young people will be voting for the first time, and they could prove pivotal.
So the Modi government has made a strong point and a strong base for themselves by doing the work that they have done. That is undeniable. They have improved the country's infrastructure, they have created more jobs, they have integrated the country into a digital economy. Those are the pros of the government. So right now, with the flow of the development, infrastructure and everything that's going on, I would prefer the current government to stay for at least one term. And that comes from a very selfish standpoint of wanting the opposition to be stronger before they make a more powerful grab for the seat.
After the Hindu nationalist BJP won the general election by a landslide, Narendra Modi first became Prime Minister in 2014. The 73-year-old now looks set to be only the second person to win 3 national elections in a row, with promises to take his country further.
In my 3rd term, I guarantee that I will make India the world's 3rd largest economy.
Modi is hoping to win 400 of the 543 seats in Parliament, but it's a tall order. Historically, the country's most successful party, the Indian National Congress, has formed a broad opposition alliance that is expected to win majorities in much of southern India, while the BJP stronghold is the heavily populated north. But most polls suggest Modi and his BJP are heading towards a comfortable majority.
But will a comfortable win mean that 400-seat majority the BJP wants? And what issues will bring Indians to the polls? Well, joining me now to debate that and more are from Delhi, senior member of the ruling BJP, Raman Malik. From Mumbai is the national spokesperson of the Aadmi Party, Preeti Sharma Menon. And also from Delhi is the president of the Imagindia Institute, Rabinder Sajdev. Thanks all so much for being with me. Well, let's start then with looking at what's driving these nearly 1 billion people to vote. Rabinder, how much is at stake for the average Indian in this election, and what's really driving them to cast a ballot here?
Oh, I think a huge lot is at stake for India and Indians. Couple of things, India is kind of at a critical mass, a tipping point wherein we are poised for a takeoff like a hockey stick in some ways. There's a lot of hope within India, and at the same time, there are a lot of challenges outside India, which are impacting India itself. So between the mix of all of these vectors, there is certainly a lot at stake, and also there is a lot of stake in terms of ideologies which are out there, between the left and the right, let's say, or between the ruling party and the opponents. There are a lot of very acute questions which are being posed out there. So certainly a lot is at stake in these elections, I would say.
Give me an example quickly of one of the social issues you're alluding to there that
The
divide
social
Indians.
issues.
Go ahead.
Fair enough. I mean, for example, could be the Uniform Civil Code, for example, right? That's one of the issues that the ruling party promises to bring it up in its manifesto when it comes back to power, as it expects, and as probably a lot of people expect also that they will come back in power. So that would be one in terms of the social issues, which is no doubt also a divisive issue to some extent within the country. That's one. The other issue is, of course, I think as you already were earlier mentioning, the issue of federalism, right? I mean, the trends or culture and federalism. There are, there is a stress of some sorts between the state governments or the provinces and the way they want to, proceed ahead, and to the extent they want to yield their powers to the center, whereas the center, the BJP currently, and when it comes back to power, it wants more powers at its disposal in the context of a federal system.
Let me ask Raman Malik if you think that will work in favor of your party in this election. The fact that the BJP in many ways does prefer just a stronger centralized government. It's obviously in favor of the Uniform Civil Code, and that has caused some rejection among the Indian public who believe that the states need to protect their kind of individual cultures in many ways, their languages, and the different laws they might have according to the states, that the BJP would like to see equalized across the board.
We are wanting to fulfill what was promised to Bharat on the eve of independence and adopting the Constitution of India under the Article 44, which was left in ambiguity for a long, long time. We want that basic promise of Article 44, which was given by the founding forefathers of this country to the people of India, to the people of Bharat, that you should have equal rights come what may. Now, if we are wanting that to happen after 70 years, 75 years of independence, I do not think there should be any problem to anybody leave aside any foreign identity. Reason being that we are as united and we are as divided as there may be Ahmadiyya, Barelvis, Shia, Sunnis, and all other sections, the other part of the word. Why I'm saying and putting this is that you have to understand, India is going to poll. India is going about 1 billion people going to poll in about 1 million and 1.1 odd polling booths across the nation. And we are making sure that that everybody exercises their franchise, even if we have to airdrop the polling parties. So that is the kind of democracy that we enjoy in India. But yes, Uniform Civil Code is something which is there for not just an ordinary citizen. I am talking about uniformity for women, for transgenders, uniformity of available resources, uniformity of available guidelines, uniformity of living standards, freedom, expression, everything for anybody, any Indian citizen for that matter. And that is the premise of a democracy. Now, that has to be fulfilled.
Let me ask Preeti Sharma Menon, why the opposition isn't on the same page there. I mean, according to the BJP, it's just a matter of equal rights for everybody, and that a strong federal government would be able to bring women, everybody, any minority up to the same code, same standard. What's wrong with that?
A uniform civil code is a directive principle enshrined in our constitution. It is something that the whole country aspires to. It is not something that anybody really opposes. But the reason why the founding fathers of this country, the people who made the constitution, put it as a directive principle and not an immediate action is because the country isn't ready for it. The country needs to be prepared for it. When there is equity, when there is social equity, when there is economic equity, then we can bring everybody together under a uniform civil code. However, the last 10 years, having been ruled by a very right wing, divisive government in the center, the equity that we had achieved in the last 70 years has just gone down the drain. Now the country is more divided than ever, and the states feel threatened. So today, the time for unified civil code, firstly, is not right. But secondly, the BJP just likes to talk about the UCC. It's not as easily done as they say, because it requires not just an overwhelming majority in the national government, in the central government. It also requires the concurrence of all the states. And many of the states are ruled by opposition parties. So, like they make it sound as if, they'll do it tomorrow, like they made the demonetization tomorrow and threw the country into chaos, or like they introduced the national GST without any thought, and we had to learn from our mistakes and stumbled across a few years before we got to it. That's the way they do things, because there's no application of mind in the BJP. They only like to convert their rhetoric into action, so in order to ensure that their vote bank stays with them. But the the Uniform Civil Code is something that we all want. It requires a lot of effort. It requires us to first give equality to all our people, irrespective of their religion. And we have very strong caste divides as well. And we have a lot of, it's not just the Muslims who enjoy separate personal laws, it's the Hindus as well. So every community here enjoys personal laws which are still being allowed. To take these away will require a lot of parity among people, and we should all work towards that. That is our aspiration, but not the haphazard way the BJP wants to do it, as if it's, just giving away a prize to somebody. That's not the way it will be done. And it's not even possible. It's just a pipe dream. They fool people.
Yeah, it's interesting, Robinder. I mean, for a voter, in looking at, not just the UCC, but a number of issues, the BJP feels it is very pragmatic because it pushes forward what it set out to do. It says it wants to deliver on these promises, and it's going to do them, while the opposition will say, you're actually doing this recklessly in a way that harms the population. So, I mean, what are voters' experiences now that they're coming to the polls with on those two stances? Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. I mean, on the one hand, that's the exact platform agenda on the ruling party is, campaigning that we deliver what we promise. That's their tagline. We deliver and what we promise. That's one. Second, the contradictions come, like, let's say even for the UCC. Definitely, yes, within India, there are multiple, we have a huge diversity within the Hindus. Also, we have tribal people having their own norms of marriage and, divorce and inheritance, etc. But for example, let's say the state of Uttarakhand, one state has introduced this law. I'm not going into other things of the law, but there is an overstretch in it sometimes. Like, for example, in this law, all live-in relationships have to register with the government. Now imagine, in this day and age, adults consenting, living together, you have to register with the bureaucratic machinery. So that's an overreach. Now that's what is part of the blame which BJP is facing, that not sure we can, I mean, that's a view, sir, fair enough. So that's an overreach in an example, for example, right, in a way. So some of these things would have to be smoothened out as the wider UCC rolls through. That would be my opinion on that. And that's where actually BJP is facing,
I have a 10-second rebuttal.
Let me complete. Sure, sir. Let me complete. 10 seconds more. So that's an example of what, the overstretch or over-centralization or becoming overbearing. That's the charge which the BJP is facing, which it does not, as Ramanji would definitely explain. He would definitely explain as to why that is not so.
Go ahead, Raman.
No, my simple submission here is, the example that you've taken of the live-in relationships, one must understand the law of the land ascertains that if a woman wants to, complain that she has been duped in this live-in relationship, the man would go through various precedents of law and they have to go through criminal and other issues. Whereas what the gentleman is trying to portray is that it is about two consenting adults wanting to live together. So that's not as simple, because if you have to give the women the protection of law, then you have to have certain guidelines and certain parameters under which you have the knowledge that whether that relationship has been there or not. There have been certain issues of misuse and other things. So you cannot You know,
Okay.
you have to
I don't want to
develop it.
I don't want to turn this into a debate specifically about these kind of, I'll call them micro issues, you know, for India. I know that they actually apply on a very large scale in India, but for an outside audience, can get a little bit inside baseball, as Americans say. But let me go back to Raman quickly, because one of the issues you are up against is the opposition claiming that really the BJP hasn't achieved enough for all Indians. Because they rally too much around Hindu nationalism rather than true equality for Indians. So what do you say to that? And do you think that take could cost the BJP at the polls in this round of voting?
That would definitely not cost us for the voting if somebody wants to just go on to those parameters. But let me get on to this. My constitution was amended in the 42nd amendment when the entire opposition of the country was basically in the jail protesting against the then government. And the words socialism and secularism were added to my preamble. Now, we have accepted that. People wanting to give us gyan on these issues of socialism and secularism, and especially there are certain countries who want to do that. They do not have secular cultures in their or secularism in their constitution, so they have no right whatsoever to talk about this. But let's talk about people who want to talk about it. We are more than happy to talk about it. Secularism is truly respected, and India is secular because the major population is Hindu. India as a country is progressing, and we are now developing fast towards becoming, if not by 2047, we would be in a position to stake claim of being the number 2 economy in the world. So we have the potential and we are working towards it. Anybody who has a problem can keep the problems to themselves.
Okay, I mean, Preeti, that is one of the promises of the BJP. I mean, Prime Minister Modi actually said he wants, well, he says India will become the world's 3rd biggest economy. But I know the opposition says that those numbers don't quite matter because the wealth isn't trickling down.
No, I'd first like to say what Mr. Malik said is what BJP symbolizes. He said if somebody has a problem, they can keep it to themselves. That's what the BJP is about. There are no differences allowed. If you have a problem, if you have an issue, you have to keep it to yourself, because if you voice it, you could be arrested, you could be put in jail, like our Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal has been put in jail.
I'm not referring to India.
There's also one more thing. There's one more problem with male BJP leaders. They interrupt people.
Please get out
See,
of your selective amnesia.
This is an uncouth, upper class, male.
Okay, unfortunately, we can't really understand either one of you speaking over each other.
I think you have to mute him because you have to give me the chance to speak.
Right. Yeah, please let Preeti speak, and then we'll finish the debate. We only have a few minutes left, so Preeti, go ahead.
So the problem that we have over here is not about BJP having delivered and there is an issue of, minorities. The issue is that the BJP has not delivered. They promised 2 crore jobs a year. That's 20 million, right? Nothing has happened. In 10 years, there have been no jobs at all. They promised that they would give 15 lakh rupees to each person because they would remove black money, and demonetization was done for that. Demonetization caused a series of people to die. Another thing happened was they forced laws on the farmers, which made the farm.
I will quit politics.
That is so uncool. Next time, please get some speaker who has some.
Okay, let me give Preeti a few more seconds.
Prove it that Mr. Modi
Can you
said
mute
so.
him for a second?
I will quit
Can you
public
mute him
life.
for a second? I can't.
I'll tell you what, Ravinder, let me come back to you. Because the bottom line is the BJP is looking at getting 400 seats in this election. Let me ask Ravinder quickly, because that is actually its goal, but then we have the opposition saying there's no way because they haven't delivered on anything that they have promised. Please be quiet so we can try and wrap this up. Ravinder, go ahead. What are the chances, though, ultimately, that the BJP can get this rather supermajority of the 400 seats? They could change the constitution in that case. When the opposition is saying there's no way, they haven't delivered on anything, the BJP feels they have. But where do you see the outcome then, based on the trajectory of the last years?
Sure. I mean, perhaps not 400, but the BJP is definitely seems to be, by all indications, heading towards 300 to 350, a good majority. of the numbers, perhaps not 400, right? The thing is that what's driving this is a lot of hope, a hope amongst the electorate. You were just saying that, there's a large number of unemployment in India, etc., and the youth and all. Yeah, sure, that is, the trickle down maybe has not happened, right? But there is hope. So a lot of hope is riding on it, and this hope would be the thing which would drive BJP to a comfortable majority as of now, it seems.
Okay, Preeti, go ahead, please. 1 minute.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
I think what this BJP spokesman, he typifies exactly what BJP is all about. They shout down every other opinion which is not theirs. And this is going to ensure that they do not have the 400. Forget the 400. I don't even give them the 300 that Mr. Rabinder is generously giving them, because we are on the ground. And we see that the people now want only jobs, and they want to talk about the inflation. These two things don't even figure in the BJP's manifesto. In their manifesto, there is no mention of rising prices. Here today, the fuel costs today are sky high. Today, Indian rupee in comparison to the dollar has plummeted. None of these issues find any resonance in the BJP leaders' conversations or in their promises or in their manifesto. And these are issues of Hindus. 80% of India is Hindus. 80% of these Hindus are suffering price rise. They are suffering from excessive policing. Like, they want to come into my bedroom and check whom I'm sleeping with. They want to come and check in my refrigerator what food I'm eating. So this is something that the whole country is facing, and therefore BJP this time has to be countered, and it will be. The method, the way they have gone about destabilizing state governments. In Maharashtra, they stole, they broke two parties. In every other state, they do horse trading. They purchase MLAs from the other parties and ensure that they form government. In Delhi, when they couldn't purchase the MLAs, they've arrested a sitting chief minister. This is unprecedented in the history of the world, where a sitting chief minister has been arrested merely on a statement of an accused turned approver. So tomorrow, if I say that somebody's stolen money from me, would you arrest that person just because I said it? That is the state we are living in today. We are living in a state where the BJP is so terrified that it's going to lose, that it has arrested two chief ministers, it has frozen the bank accounts of the Congress, the principal opposition parties, and it is causing mayhem in India. And that's going to show them that they're not even going to reach 300. They're not even going to reach a full majority. That is the the word coming from the ground.
Raman Malik, I can give you a minute to respond. Go ahead.
See, first of all, I don't need to take sermons from somebody who's into liquor scams and other such events. Their party has come to power on the basis of getting rid of corruption, but they are paramount, preambles of corruption now. Having said that, let's go to a basic thing. We have doubled the number of airports. We have doubled the number of railways.
That's not true.
Speed railways. We are there. And not just that, the infrastructure is going on a massive scale. The economy has, shown bigger, broader, brighter results all along in the last 10 years. Being an ex-banker, she could probably say, but she, with her myopic vision, she might not be able to say, because problem is with a predominant mindset, you generally intend to cancel everything, and that is what the factual basis is. They're canceling whatever is there in the sky written down, and that is where they will go down again. They have formed a record in India of letting go of the maximum number of security deposits any political party has fought an election with. So they have good records to themselves.
Can I respond,
Raman
please?
Malik, unfortunately, we are completely out of time for this edition of the Newsmakers. We're going to have to leave it there. I apologize for not being able to get you a final word, Preeti, but this is, we are a slave to the clock right now. So thank you all so much for being with me on this edition of the Newsmakers, and our viewers, of course, for joining us as well. Remember, you can follow us on Twitter, and do be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm Andrea Sankey. We'll see you next time.